Yes, everybody, the boss and the sauce is back in effect. And we got the sauce in here, of course, and we got the boss in here. What up, sauce? Talk to these people today.
What's happening, everybody? Thursday Night Football, NFL Live. Watching it right now, 3-0 the Bears. It's early yet, but we're here for the duration, so we're going to chop it up like we always do every Thursday night this time. What's happening with you, my man?
Nothing much. I decided to stay off the game tonight. Sometimes I'm just too much of a fan in football, and I really like the Trubisky guy, and I really like Chicago defense last year. But when my guy, the sauce, says his 2-unit play is the Packers, I'm definitely not getting in the way of that at all. If anything, I would have took the Packers. And also, I seen my guy Ski out there today. Ski had an interesting breakdown on that game. He said that the Bears start fast and Green Bay comes back in the second half.
Good luck.
And from the looks of things already, that's about how it's rolling out right now.
Yeah.
But
I'm kind of mad. I'm kind of mad about something.
What's that?
Well, you know, we got in that pick six contest, correct? Right? We talked about it yesterday. We did the show, and what do you think my dumb ass didn't do? I didn't put my 2-unit play in the contest, so I got to give myself a thumbs down, two thumbs down for 2.
Well, so you know what? You know what I have to say about that, BigRagoo, and to the people out there. That's what we do over here. We totally transparent. We ain't hiding no bets behind our backs or nothing. We make mistakes like everybody else. You know, sometimes I make some mistakes, and I just want to kick myself in the back of the head, like rookie mistakes. I've been doing this, like a common one that I've been making that I should never, ever, ever, ever do, that I've done the last time I was in Vegas, is walk away from the window with the wrong bet. That I don't know how, you know, it's not all, most of the time I think it's maybe the teller, but sometimes it could be me, you know, when you're spitting off a couple bets.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's some things I have to shy away from. That's why I tell myself sometimes, hey, sometimes you're not ready to be a whale, you know, because whales can't afford to do stuff like that. So till those habits go away, I'll increase my well ability and start really making some better moves. But we're doing great. Had a great week last week in college football. Gonna be a great week this week in college football. Let me give a quick rundown of my folks in the chat. Mr. Fat Fish showed up here first, so I gotta say what's up to Fat Fish. And Buck Nashy just pulled up, and the guy himself, Noli Knows, is definitely in the chat, y'all. You got anything to say to our low baggers in the chat, though, BigRagoo?
I always love our guys in the chat. You know, they get in there, they chop it up with us, and they always dropping knowledge, just like, you know, we're bringing it back to them. So that's what makes this thing so great. You know, we get to communicate with our people, and we go live with them, and, you know, we just become a family that way.
Absolutely. Now, is there any notes that you've seen out there in college football that we need to know for week 2? Or how is it that you're looking at this week 2? Because, you know, week 1, definitely, you know, preparation, you know, especially that played to be the truth with the Army game and Rice. And you spoke about that on the show, too, that Rice would have much time to prepare for an option, which is pretty simple. And I was like, well, you know, sometimes you just can't beat the option. But just like you said, BigRagoo, preparation. So going into week 2, what kind of angles do you use in week 2?
Well, I looked at, you know, it's funny you brought that game up, because that's the game that I talked about last night was the Wake Forest, you know, because Army played Rice in the Wake, you know, Army played Rice the first week. And like you said, I didn't think that they would be able to shut Army down like they did, but they did a kudos to Rice for getting the job done there. But, you know, they had, like you say, a little extra time to get the job done. But I figured at least Army would at least win by 2 scores. But, heck, they only won by 1 score. So, was it 14-7, low-scoring game.
Yeah.
But, I mean, now Rice has got to turn around. They got to go to Wake. Or no, not Wake. Wake's got to go to Rice and play them. And that's like total opposite ends of the spectrum as far as, you know, tempo goes and whatnot. So it's going to be a quick turnaround from them. They are playing at home. So what I like to do is look at how the teams did in the week 1, teams that I was kind of focused on, and not get off of those teams, but just kind of, you know, get a gauge for them. because I'm involved with those teams for a reason. Because week one, what I like to do is look at what I think are mismatches, and then move forward from there. But and I'm actually on both teams that were involved in that game. I've got them this week coming up too. Like I got Army is going to play Michigan up in the Big House. And I'm thinking, the way that Army plays, if they play anything like they played Rice and Michigan, they're not a big cover team in my book. They've always been a tough covering team. Anything more than a touchdown, but they're getting 22 points up in the Big House. So I kind of like that look because I think Army's going to maybe slow the game down, and then give Michigan less touches. So there's a big underprice in that game too. I think it's like 47 or 48. I'm afraid of that number to go over, but I think Army might not control the pace, but not give Michigan as many touches to maybe cover that big number, because that's a big number there. And then on the opposite end with Wake, I like Wake to kind of run that hurry up and kind of put Rice's defense in a little bit of peril. You know what I mean? Even though, like Teddy said this morning on Jimmy's show, that he thinks they could possibly get there, but if they came down to a line where it might be a backdoor cover, he didn't think Wake would defend the big number. So I'm going to say Wake's going to kind of, get the job done as far as scoring points against Rice on a different look altogether. But that's all. I just like taking different looks from the week one and moving forward with them in the week two.
I kind of like that look too. One of my things in week two, I have a few things that I look for in week two, BigRagoo. One thing that I look for is teams that didn't give you a good enough read in the first game, because a lot of times, people that have been players, you played in the first game of the season before, from practicing against the defense or the offense, of your own team, and the going into a real game is two different things. And it has a very adverse results in that too. Sometimes a team, just too timid, the other one's scared, and stuff like that. But this year's been pretty good because we didn't have that many upsets in week one. Now but we did get I've seen good teams like Clemson who had fumble snaps. I've seen some of the worst tackling that can go down in football. So I kind of keep my eye on a lot of that stuff like that. And this year, what I've added to the game is all the capping we did prior to the season started. And a lot. Right now I could basically look at some teams and say, hey, we did a preview on that. We said this first week. Did that? They look like they on the road to do this. And that's how I try to find some spots in the second week. And also, second and third week is the week you might want to take a look at special teams, because this is when guys get lackadaisical. They so focusing on improving. If they need to improve tackling or catching or fundamentals, they so focused on those fundamentals that they forget the important stuff like covering a kick and blocking on a punt and stuff like that. So we're gonna get some scooping scores. We're gonna get some block kicks. We had some terrible field goal kicking out of a few groups this week.
Yeah.
But, I'm looking for those kind of things. And let me wrap this up though. Going into that, I looked at this Wake Forest and Rice game as well, and we had a good read. We had a good preview on Rice, and Rice basically showed us they was a little better than we might have thought. But when
Agreed.
Just capping from your standpoint before that game, being that they had preparation for the Army, kind of justifies that. But I still seen things on the field like missed tackles, miscommunication, and not enough enthusiasm. To me, at some point, you got to really want it. If you're not fired up in the second game, if you're not fired up in the first, second game, you're not there. You're not there to try to win. So those are some of the things I looked at it. When I looked at the Wake Forest team, they looked great to that respect. They had a high scoring game against the Utah State team. They coming off a good win. And this is basically kind of beat the line setters, because the line setters, they kind of geared to grabbing the numbers right now. They can't watch all the games. They don't have enough data yet. So there's spots that you can beat them right here. I think this is one. I don't know how they came out with a -10 first half when you look inside your Field Skill magazine. side of each game, gives you a little note of the matchup over the years. Looked in the note right there, seen that Wake Forest beat Rice pretty bad last year, 56-24, and went a little further. You know, all it took was a couple searches on YouTube to get a look at that game itself. And looking at that game itself, first half, BigRagoo, they scored already like 40-something points. I can't even remember the number. It was so high. I was like, that's it right there.
So they backed it down.
Yeah, so I'm on the Wake Forest first half -10. I think that's a really good spot to jump in there and make some cash. And that's just dealing off of the logistics from what happened in the week 1 going into week 2. I don't think it necessarily says I'm going to be smashing Rice for the rest of the season or back in Wake Forest for the rest of the season. It's just a nice spot right here. I feel like we got a little jump on it.
Yeah, that's a good look. I like that. Yeah, I mean, you got to do your due diligence because, number one, it's early in the season, so you're going to have a lot of small sample sizes to start out with. So you got to base it on, their game plan, not necessarily from last year, but how their looks came at, during the season last year and the coaches and the personnel wise. So, that's why I was saying, like, with the up-tempo play, Army's slow play, I'm just going based on what they did last year. And I know Army lost their defensive coordinator. He's gone. And, I mean, little tweaks here and there personnel-wise. Some are big, some are small. Some you just got to go, like you said, with gut shot type thing. And nobody really knows until, these teams get on the field and perform. So talk about teams on the field performing. Green Bay just got a touchdown, so it's 7-3 right now.
All right. That's what's up. But, yeah, I feel you on that one, BigRagoo. And I got a second spot like that, and it was weird because they both came in the Friday game. The Friday card is kind of small, and I was having a rough time finding the spot between those few games. Mm-hmm. But, when you're capping, that kind of caused me to go another step harder on finding the spot. And that's how I came up with the last spot. And that's how I came up with this spot right here. And that's in the Marshall and the Boise game over here. Now, Marshall, really good on defense. And, wait. Let me back up. I'm mixing myself up right here. Where was it? Oh, no. It's the bum fight. Oh, this is the other one right here. It's the bum fight. And I know that a lot of you
Which one was a bum fight?
Arkansas and Ole Miss.
Oh, okay.
A lot of real good cappers. Hey. Teddy. I felt like I was in a room by myself this morning on the show because when they asked Teddy about all of my picks, Teddy was like, I ain't messing with none of that. But, my man BigRagoo got my back. He already know, in the game, I'm a youngster. I got to jump out there in the front liners sometimes. I might be more better, if that's a word, but I might be better going after those games right in the fire because I'm young. My brothers, other people that they're attached to some of these players. So, I'm a social media light and all that. Some of the older guys, they don't get all into that kind of stuff. So I jump right in the fire. And I kind of like bum fights, because bum fights, you usually go for the one that's not really talking that much. When the bum don't really want to fight, that's the one that's going to come out, kick his ass. But I like this Ole Miss Arkansas game. And when you figure, okay, we already came up with the fact that they're bums. Like, we already know this is the thing right here. So when I pick my better bum, I'm looking at Ole Miss. Ole Miss has had great defense last year, and this year they played in game 1, and they kept the score down big time. You know what I'm saying? So they showed that they actually had that defense. And they're gonna come back in this one against the Arkansas. The line jumped way against me. I wish I would have been on this one a lot earlier. I think it opened at like 55, and it's down to like 50. I don't know what it is.
What's your look on the game?
The look is the Ole Miss played Memphis last week. The over and under was 65.5. That means that the line setters they had a bid on this game going over. This team either playing defense or not playing defense or whatever. And Ole Miss, who had good defense last year, came and they must have increased their defense to keep that Memphis team. If you watch that Memphis game, It wasn't like Memphis was just not trying to execute and didn't have any. They played a hard, fought out game between each other. Now, granted, Ole Miss could not really get their offense going well. They still, it might have been first week jitters, or it might just be that they have a slow offense. But
Yeah.
Arkansas, on the other hand, as we capped them before, that was one that we capped before. We already determined that Arkansas just don't have it this year, and I'm kind of leaning on that in this choice right here too. That we already capped that and determined that Arkansas is not that well, and I'm taking the under in this game because Ole Miss can't really get the offense going.
Yeah.
They got to rely on defense. Arkansas can't really get the offense going. These guys gonna have a little bum fight. They'll probably score. Some probably jump out there or something, or it'd be a low scoring first half and they score a little more in the second half. I don't think it's gonna go over 50.
Yeah. Well, when we looked at that game, when we did the conference breakdown recently, right, just the other day, I know
Yeah,
Mississippi, they had the number one passing game in the SEC, and they also had like the top three passing game, which I didn't even know that. I wasn't even close to thinking that in the nation. Like, where you figure with Oklahoma and all them other big schools that are air raid type schools, but Mississippi
right.
was getting the job done. But they did only have three returning starters on offense, and none of them are in the skill position area. I think I had an offensive lineman, maybe like I don't know, just they didn't have the key skill position players coming back. Now, defensively speaking, they were okay, nothing spectacular, but they have a lot of returners coming back on defense with a little bit of depth. So you step up the defense a little bit, you get a little weak on offense. And Arkansas, they were just miserable, like the bottom two
Uh-huh.
teams, all the way across on offense and defense. So that's a good mixture for an under, I think. So I think you're on the right side with that pick. If it goes over, then you had the right play in my book as far as
Yeah, I mean,
analyzing, no doubt.
to lose, they got to beat you, and that's all you want to do. You want to make an edge to where if you got to lose, they got to beat you. And also to note, I had to get my thoughts together to make sure I didn't want to put out no bad information. But this Ole Miss team returned 10 on defense.
Yeah.
So they not only did they return the 10 on defense, but that team played against a team like Memphis, who's a scoring machine, and showed that they grew a little bit on defense. So I definitely think the defense is going to really do a good job for
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss. I don't know about a shutout, but they may keep them like under 20 points for sure. And Ole Miss, that's why I couldn't take Ole Miss to win the game, because Ole Miss struggled so bad on offense against Memphis. That's what caused them to not be able to
Question
win the
marks.
game, because they
There's a lot of
almost won the game. It was 13-10.
right.
Ole Miss had the ball. They were backed up against the goal line off a good punt, and then they got the 2-point safety right there. That's how it came out 15-10. And Memphis was running all over the field like they just won the championship. So I said, hey, that defense must have put it on them pretty good for them to feel like we got away when we was
escaped.
down.
They were running off the field because they escaped. That's why, not because they
Exactly.
beat anybody's ass. But Drew, I
Exactly.
remember when Drew was talking about that game. He said it was a fun atmosphere. He says because they're pretty close proximity wise. So he says it's actually a fun game to go to. I think he said he's been to one or has been involved with that. I remember him bringing that up on the show the other day. But I mean, along those same lines, you talk about getting looks from week one, and we talked about this one too. You got Tennessee is playing up against BYU, right? And I know you're not in love with BYU, and a lot of people are really hating on Tennessee right now. And they're not one of my favorite teams, but it's a team that, if you look at talent wise, they should match up pretty well. And I think this is a real good spot for Tennessee to make a good showing to get back on track against a down BYU team. Even though Tennessee, everybody's saying they got beat by Georgia State, it's a trash program. Yeah, okay, so they have their issues. We know that, but they're still they still recruit well. I don't know
Mhm.
about the coaching. I know they do have some coaching issues, but I mean, this is a good proving ground for them to kind of get somewhat get their program on track if they're going to get back to their winning ways. What do you think about this game?
Now I'm gonna tell you the truth. I've always liked Tennessee. Um, I don't know where they lost it or why they in the state that they are, and I understand everything you guys are saying about Tennessee. But the one thing I can say about Tennessee year in and year out is that they have the enthusiasm and the willingness to win, and they're also always tough. So I back what you guys are saying, but I haven't doubted up good enough to be like enthusiastic to choose a side. But I think it's a really good look. I'm all for Tennessee um, getting back to the levels they had back in the day. So being a competitive team, and I seen it in them. When I watched a little bit of film of them coming out the tunnel. The enthusiasm, the togetherness. It's all there. Um, you might have a great look right here. Maybe this is a turning point for them in this next game, and they might step up a little bit.
Yeah, well, the other coach they had, Butch Jones, he kind of gave it the old rah rah cheer, and then he kind of fell from graces because they thought he was the guy that really turned that program around. They really haven't had a really solid coach since Phil Thurman was around, back when Peyton Manning played. That's how far back he got to go. But he was there. He was like he was like a guy that's been there forever. And when he left, they had a lot of turnover. So they just need some good stability. They need some good coaches to kind of bring that program back to you don't have to be the greatness, but at least get them back, in graces where, fans will feel good about going to the games and not going to the game with like a bag on their head or something like that. This I like the program. I mean, it's a huge stadium. They hold over 100,000 people in there, so their fans they got a real strong fan base. That's what I'm saying. They're just waiting to jump out and start getting that program back on track. So I like them. I like them this week anyways. It's a short number at home. I think it's like 3.5, and I'm going to be backing them this week. So you can put that down as an official play for me.
That's
Tennessee,
right.
Tennessee minus the 3.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely throw it in my pick six. I got a local pick six. Got a local pick six card. That's it's a little low little thing, but I got a bunch of people lined up, so I got to get involved too. But it's $5,
There you go.
minimum, $5 maximum.
A little
But it
office
pays
pool type action. That's good stuff there.
yeah, but it paid 250 though, so
Yeah,
that's not bad money. So
there
I
you go.
put that pick six together. I definitely throw that one in there somewhere, stretch it out a little bit. But I'm gonna jump over into one of my other games right here, and that's the one I was briefly speaking of. I got my notes mixed up. That's Boise and Marshall right here. Now Boise, they got this new quarterback that they really backed. They backed him coming out. Now he had a horrible first half against Florida State, but he picked it up a little bit in the second half. But I would say I don't. He didn't do anything impressive downfield throws or nothing like that. But to be a youngster, they followed his lead, and he was able to help rally them back. Now they're supposed to be more of a passing team, which they probably will do a little more passing at home on this one. But what I seen was more of a running team. They had more success at the run for that night, so they wasn't throwing the ball up. But Marshall, on the other hand, this team can score. They always been able to score. They kind of having an average year. Well, they're looking at having like an average year, but they're going to be a top tier in their conference. They got a spread offense. They like to throw the ball around and score. That's their MO. So within the first quarter, you can get a over under at 12 and a half. Now, sometimes some of the best capping that you could do is when you can play the game out in your head. I heard my boy King Rail back in the day. I don't know how accurate it was, but he like, man, it's like I have a dream at night about the game, and I know exactly how to play. And he had great success in a lot of stuff that he did. And this is one of those things where I can just kind of see it in my head that Boise is going to have to score 7 points within the first two possessions. Probably be on the first drive down at home. The elements is different there. They got bluegrass that just throws people all the way off. And they should be able to get that 7 out. And then either Marshall could slip up and score another one, or I think Boise scores another one somewhere right near the end of the first quarter, and that one goes over. So I'm taking the first quarter over 12 and a half in the Marshall Boise. What you think about that, Big Ragoo?
Yeah, they were talking about. I think Teddy was talking about the Marshall the program, and if I'm not mistaken, but I know I heard somebody talking about it. I don't want to say it was Teddy, but Boise, they played that tough game, and when I say tough game, it was a game that they roughed up Florida State because Florida State had played over 100 plays in that heat, and Boise played in the same heat too, but they played like 40 less plays. So I think
Mm.
that wound up being a good trip for them. They had an early game. I'm sure they got the heck out of Tallahassee once that game was over. Got back to Idaho, and
Really?
had not a celebration, but probably had a nice plane ride home. So and they were on to the next game thinking about Marshall. Now Marshall's a pretty good team. They're well coached. They travel well. They play good on the road, and they play good in the underdog uh, role also. And I know Boise had like the 10 wins last season. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with Boise's program. I know one of our cohorts was down on the Boise coach, but listen, you can't argue with success as long as they keep winning games. You got to keep beating that drum. So I think home is a good look for them. To get their I won't even say get their offense going because like I say they had over 600 yards of offense, so that's not a
Mm.
question there. It's just going to be about the matchup. I know Florida State they looked pathetic trying to stop the run, but hey, they're on to next week too. So I think I would back the 12.5 over. That probably a good look. As far as the game itself, I didn't break down the whole game as a whole, but
Yeah.
just on the surface, I think that's probably, they're probably well rested. They're freshened up, and the boys, like I say, Marshall's got to come out and travel to their turf. Now,
Yeah.
there is one negative thing I did hear with Boise, like when they're like a double-digit favorite at home. I heard
Uh-huh.
their record's not that impressive as far as full game goes, so you might want to caution and whoever's checking that game out, just look into that stat a little bit. That might open your eyes a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah,
as
yeah.
as a double
Absolutely.
digit. Yeah, but
Absolutely. That's why I got off to the side. I think that's a little too high. But
yeah,
with the travel and stuff, I just don't know enough to back Marshall. In order for me to take the team that's the underdog, I have to think in my mind at some point that they could actually win the whole game. I don't think I'm totally convinced that Marshall can pull this off, money line. So I kind of stayed off that. But then the total also. Now Boise is a team that, in last year, a couple years, they've been passing the ball a lot. But if you look at the scores of their game, they're slightly under 53, 54 a game. And, the weather elements at some point of the year, the altitude. And like I said, they're supposed to be a passing team, but they run the ball more than anything, like more of a run pass team. So with that, whenever you're a run pass team and the run is working, you stick to the run. I'm not going to, if I run pass and I decide to pass and you on it, let's go right back to the well and get back to the run. So
absolutely.
that team, it kind of, and they manage games pretty well. The coaching staff there, they manage games pretty well, and that's just what they did in the Florida State game. They just happened to manage the game a little bit, and that's another thing you have to take into note in college football all the time, but more or less in the beginning games is that halftime adjustments are going to be the life of a lot of teams. I mean, if you look at the Florida State game, you look at the Notre Dame game, you look at the Nevada game, like these guys, you got to understand, these guys that's up top with these headsets watching down on the game, if they see a little something, in the middle of the first quarter, second quarter, they're not going to run down to the coach and say, hey, man, we got to, unless it's a hole in the boat. But if they
Yeah,
see a little something, they're going to hold that to halftime. And then halftime, that's when they come down and they talk to the coach, say, look, man, this is what we see. Nowadays, they got video footage of it. Like, look, this is what we seeing out there in the secondary. They playing zone. We need to, do this or that. So halftime adjustments is very important in these early times. And after so long, the good teams and the bad teams are going to separate from each other. And at that time, you have to roll with the numbers. But right now, you have to look at the edges like that.
yeah. No, like you say, the technology is so vast anymore. Like it depends on what point in the game it is too, and if it's a game-saving drive, like they can get that information down to the field pretty quick. But like you say, it's like having an ace in their pocket. So if their game plan's going to according to game plan, and they're not getting their brains beat in, and then they say, okay, here's how we can slow these guys down, or here's how we can fool them. They just make those changes at the half, and they coach they make the coaching adjustments at that point. But yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. I like that. I like that. What?
And as you see, my greatest coach right now, Mr. Brian Kelly, that is. And I was you if you was in the chat that we had, people was thrashing Notre Dame when they went down by 2 touchdowns. Well, they didn't even go down by 2 touchdowns, but when they let the other team score 2 touchdowns, they were like, "Oh, this ain't the team, this, that, and the other." And if you notice, second half they scored a field goal, and that's a good coaching staff's coming together. Like, we have the talent to beat these guys. Let's let these guys work out their kinks in the first half, just like a boxer. Let's play rope a dope. It's just things that they do in college football. As fans, we look right past that stuff, but as cappers, we gotta take that stuff in consideration.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're capping a game, like if you're watching this game tonight, for instance, you're watching them run their little out patterns, or the guy's out in the flat and he's not picking up his block. You're sitting there, you're coaching the game yourself because you have a different kind of interest. But for a fan, you're like, oh, catch the ball and run. It's a different look when you break these games down for what they are and what you're trying to accomplish. So. And as a fan, you always look at games differently, but as a capper, you look at them with a whole different light. So. You're always trying to get that edge. So, speaking of edge, what else you got going on? I mean, I'm looking. You want to know what another game I like?
What's that?
I'm going to give out all my games tonight if I can. I don't care. I'll just give them back out Saturday too.
That's right.
But here's one that I haven't heard one person talk about this game this week, and it's shocking to me. Okay, I can't believe it. And the guys that are in the chat, you guys are going to get a treat right now. All 350 guys that are in our chat right now. So
across 7 countries.
Right. We're broadcasting internationally here. So Miami Hurricanes, we seen them week 1, right? Week 0, I should say, not week 1, because last week they didn't play, right? It's a big factor, when a team is off a bye, especially in the pros. But college, same look in college. They get an extra week to prep. They get to work on their game plan. Now they're seeing the team coming off a week. Now something happened this past week that is like almost automatic for me. If the line is within reason, I will play this just on this angle. If I get a team that's coming off a bye, taken against a team that's coming off an emotional win with their heads up in the clouds, I'm going to take the team coming off the bye, waiting to, not necessarily waiting because sometimes they have to travel, but especially if it's a home game and the other team's got to travel a little bit. But the Miami Hurricanes are playing the North Carolina Tar Heels this week. Now, Mac Brown just took that program over. They says the Mac is back, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's all nice and dandy. But we know we got a first-year coach with Diaz. Miami's offensive line looked a little shaky against the Gators, but the North Carolina Tar Heels aren't the Florida Gators, okay? So now you're laying 3.5 points on the road at Chapel Hill. I'm on that all day. I don't care. I'll lay up to a touchdown that game. That's how confident I am. I think Miami's going to go in there. They're going to get the job done. They're going to take the Tar Heels their heads out of the clouds. I don't think they're going to wrap their head around that win. Even though it was exciting for them, I still think, they're still going to be, walking on air a little bit. And I think Miami's going to set them straight when they go visit them in Chapel Hill. I'm going to take Miami. That's going to probably be my 2-unit play. I have to make the adjustment because I missed the Green Bay game tonight. So that's a game I really, really like that nobody's talked about that game yet this week.
That's funny that you mentioned that, BigRagoo, because when I initially took a look at the games and the line, as soon as I was able to take a look at it, I seen this opener on this Miami Mighty Strange against the North Carolina team. But then when I watched ESPN for a little while, because I filter myself on that stuff, but when I watched ESPN, I noticed they were making a big hoopla about this North Carolina win last week. Now, we both know that South Carolina is not they're one of those borderline middle teams over there.
Yeah, they should have beat them though. North Carolina had no business winning that game. They just for some reason, whatever the heck South Carolina was drinking and whatever was in the punch or the Gatorade, it wasn't clearing their heads out because Muschamp. I mean, that was not that it was going to be an automatic win for them, but that was a game that they scheduled because Brown knew that, hey, we're going to play a cross-state rival. We'll get toughened up. We probably ain't going to win this game, but and then they just started believing and they got the job done. And I know a lot of people like this kid, the quarterback. I'm trying to remember his name right now. He's a youngster. The hell's his name, man? Somebody help me out in the chat
North
with the.
Carolina.
Yeah, Sam. I think Sam. What's his last name? I'm trying to remember his name,
I'll
but
bring it up real quick.
yeah. Anyways, Mac was pretty high on him because they didn't have a starter when he got there. He won the job. I want to say he's a freshman. He's a
Okay.
good looking. I mean, good looking quarterback. He didn't. He got pretty nimble on his feet. He got the ball down the field when he had to. So, but anyways, the point
It's
I'm trying to make is
Sam Howell, a
Sam
freshman.
Howell. I
Sam
couldn't. I
Howell,
couldn't remember
redshirt
Howell.
freshman.
Correct. Sam Howell. Right. So Brown's really high on him, but I'm not going to call Brown Mac Fossil because I kind of like the old school throwback coaches when you got guys like him and Herm Edwards. They come in the locker room, they get these kids really, really motivated, get them centered and focused. They get a lot of positive, a lot of good comes out of it, not just on the field but in life in general. So guys like that, that's why I love these guys. Even though they say, well, they're not the Sean McVays or the the floors of the world, but who cares? They're trying to accomplish a different mission with these kids and get them on the straight and narrow. So my point is, I'm getting off track a little bit with what's going on in the field. The thing is, they're on cloud nine. They should have won the game. The other team, they play like shit. Now it's a good game for the opposing team to come in and just kind of knock them down a little bit. That's all. And I think 3.5 is a cheap number. If they didn't win that game, maybe the game, it might have been 5 or 6 points. Who the hell knows? But I think they kind of got that adjusted in because the W that Brown put. I don't even think they had them winning 2 games this season in North Carolina. Maybe 2 or 3. That was it.
Now I see over here at I'm looking on SBR odds. I see a -5 now, and it shows the opener of -6.
Where's that? Miami?
Yeah, Miami game.
Wow. And what the hell was I looking at?
But I don't know. It could have been different. I thought I seen earlier. I thought I seen -4. I don't know how far back. I guess I would check the line history somehow on there. But
yeah, no.
I looked at that game too. I absolutely like your look, and that's funny that you mentioned that because that was one of the first games that I spotted out. And like you said, nobody had said anything about those games, and that's a very interesting look. But the only downfall that I seen that I said, oh, let me go look at that game again, was Miami's quarterback. The quarterback over there at Miami, he was kind of goofing off a little bit in the Florida game. But like you said, it's not Florida coming at them this week. It's North Carolina. So, yeah. And then with all the rest and stuff that Miami got, they should be able to tighten them down and not. And if not, what they could do is run the ball a little more. Coaches know how to kind of take the ball out of a quarterback's hand, especially when they young like that. And they're doing a little slippage. Then we'll roll you out. We'll do a lot of passes in the flats. We'll figure it out. So I think the coaching staff over there can handle that for him. And if that happens, then yeah, I think Miami rolls North Carolina and brings them back to life. But if it doesn't, it's only a matter of time before they come off of cloud 9.
Listen, if you told me that North Carolina would be 2-0 and Miami be 0-2 versus the other way around, I would have probably lost a lot of money on that bet.
That's right. Hey, I got to give a roll call real quick to everybody in the chat. Noli Knows, Bookie Lover Q, Mr. Fat Fist, my guy Dom Ricci's in here, Josh Point Noah's in here. Who else? Somebody just came. Ron Ruiz just came in here. Shout out to Juan, man. Good having you. And of course, my bro, OG Wham, is definitely in the house with us today, man. And I appreciate all y'all showing up. The Boss and the Sauce, we're going to keep it live. We're going to keep it rolling week for week. A solid hour right here with the Boss and the Sauce. And we talking football. I feel good today. I don't feel pressured or nothing. I'm having a real good time, BigRagoo. How about yourself?
Always, man. Anytime I get to hang out with my bro, I'm in a good spot. So, especially with our guys in the chat, the guys we hang with all the time, it's just like sitting on the couch with family having a cold one.
Yeah, even though we talking to what did it say, 37,000 right now worldwide. The 10 in the chat, man. I love all y'all. But
Right on.
I'm gonna go into another game, another look that I had. Now I'll tell you, I haven't completely capped this game all the way out, but I definitely see the edge in this game right here, and it's coming out the Mountain West where I do it the best. Now I'm gonna run back the tape on my tosser breakdown in the previews that we did earlier, and check that out. But Tulsa at San Jose State.
You
Now
putting it
San
up now?
Jose, what's that?
You putting the tape up now on the screen?
Oh no, the
Oh,
tape not
all
up
right.
there. Right?
Okay.
But Tulsa playing San Jose State at San Jose State. Now San Jose State been a struggling team. They do play good ball, but they is a struggling team. Now when we capped this Tulsa team, they were a lot more hot to trot than the San Jose team. Now San Jose team came out first week and they was minus 17 and a half, which is something they probably ain't been in a few years.
Right.
And they didn't cover by the hook. So
Wow.
and they were at home as well. They play best at home. I would never take them on the road. They play best at home. But I think this Tulsa team out of another conference comes in here and jumps all over this San Jose State team by more than 7 for sure. So I'm leaning big time Tulsa. That's one of the spots that I really want to be at. You looked at that game, BigRagoo?
I was just going back through the magazine and checking something on Tulsa here. So San Jose, where'd they finish up last year?
Dead last. They won one game, but they
Okay.
beat a decent team. It was at home on like a homecoming or something. I actually had capped that game and got the W with them when they finally got their first home W. But
I remember I used to bet San Jose. Was it San Jose and who used to play down in was it San Jose? San Jose and Fresno. I remember one time I was in Vegas. I was sitting there betting a halftime, and it was like 22 points was the first half. I said, "Man, that's low, 22." Both of them teams, they got down to the goal line, and nobody could punch it in. I got field goal after field goal after field goal. So finally, it got down to about 30, 40 seconds ago in the game. It was like 20. It was like 10-10 or 10-9, some stupid shit like that. And the guy lined up to kick like a 22-yard field goal, and he chunked it.
wow.
And I said, I'll never bet that fucking team again.
Yeah, San Jose State is pretty bad, but they got
Oh my God.
They got a quarterback Love over. I think he's Josh Love. The other guy is Jordan Love. But Josh Love, I think he's a senior this year over there, and he's expected to do a little better. That's why they had him by the 17 and a half points. So it looks like he did do good according to them in that first game, but nothing like this Tulsa team that's going to be coming out this year. They got 6 coming back on offense, 8 on defense. This team is projected. Let me see where they projected at.
They got them like 4-8 or something like that. 3-5 in conference, 4-8 overall. So probably the W's they're giving them is out of conference.
Okay.
Yeah, they're looking at San Jose is this week, correct? And then they got trying to look. Then they got East Carolina at the end of the season. That's probably going to be a W for them. So outside of the conference, that's that AAC conference. That's a wide open conference. We talked about that conference too. That's the American Conference.
And Tulsa was one of the teams, although they ranked last and they started the division. It was one of the teams that I thought would do a little better than they thought he would. And
correct.
This got a 5th-year coach right here.
A lot of seniors on defense. Loaded.
Yeah, and he's got to do better. He hasn't did good since 2016, so he's got to do better at some point. They did a decent job last week against Michigan State, or the best they could, but I think this week, even though it's another road game, I think they get it together, and I think they cover that 7. I think they win by like 17.
Yeah, they played. So they actually played. Let's see, the third. Yeah. So this is week 2. They did play that true week 1 also. So yep, they're good to go now. What did they do? What was the final score in that Michigan State? Did you catch that?
Let me pull it up real quick. But it's 2 bottom of the barrel teams basically out of each conference. Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
kind of game you like to go
yeah.
after. You said
You got to go after the
take
bums.
take the tougher bum. One coming off the scrum, one on top.
Yeah,
Boom, kick them in the
he
nuts, choke them out.
he only been addicted for 4 years. The other guy been there 14 years. You got to choose one.
Yeah, that's it. You can find some value. That's why a lot of guys says, "Well, I'm not interested in a game like that." I mean, if you got a good angle on it and you got something that's working, you just got to stick with it, like you said.
The score was
I like that.
it was 7-28. They scored the
Oh
seven
wow,
in the second quarter. So I think they were like in a 23-point underdog in that one, 23 and a half.
yeah. So
So
they
they covered
covered
the spread on that one. Yeah.
and they held Michigan down four
Michigan
scores. So
State.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I'm in state.
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
quality program. And that was that at home? Or was that on the road at
That was at
Michigan?
Michigan State. That was at
Wow.
Michigan State.
Okay.
So
So they going
that's
back. They got back to back road games. That's all right. Toughen them up a little bit. So be good to go.
yeah.
Well, spend some
But
time
you
out in
got another look.
California. Yeah. I wanted to ask you about this one, so you can help me along with it. What do you think about the San Diego State game coming up this week? That's one I
That's a
was.
big one. Noli, you in the chat, man. You still ain't reported in for this discussion on the San Diego State
You want to wait till
UCLA
tomorrow?
game. No, no, no. I want to talk about it. I definitely want to talk about it, but I just make sure I had to put that in Noli ear.
Yeah.
But this UCLA team with Chip Kelly over here. Now, when I was watching that game last week, I didn't see a defeated team. I didn't see like they were actually trying to win. They were in position to win a few times. I'd see the team that got beat eventually in the fourth quarter, but I didn't see a defeated team in this one. And UCLA looks like, from what I've seen, that because they already spoke that Chip Kelly was upset because he left the Pac-12. They took all his run and shoot game that he had with Oregon, and now that's a household thing across the Pac-12. So he feels like they stole his style. He comes back and he's like, he could come back and be like, "Oh, I'm a master with y'all, the same thing y'all trying to do because I started it," or he could be the genius that he is and say, "Look, I'm gonna start something different. I'm gonna come in with a different twist." And the peak that I got of that was in the running game. If you look at some of the running sets that he ran out of there and some of the motion that he did, it was a little unorthodox. It looked like, he was getting ready to make the Kool-Aid. He got the stuff in there, the water, a little bit of sugar, but it didn't really work well against him against Cincinnati's defense. The run didn't become all the way available. From a couple things that I see, and that's one thing my coach used to say. He used to say, playing offense, it's like acting. You got to sell a lot of stuff. And they didn't really sell his scheme all the way. But he used it, sparingly, so it wasn't just totally obvious. But I seen you out there, Kelly. I seen what you did. So I really like that on their side. And San Diego State, I think, is a really bad team, man. They need a refacing of the team. The coach there, he just hard-headed, man. He want to continue thing. And I was really mad at the coach last year because I subscribed to the Mountain West Conference channel. They show the press releases every week for each team as they come out. And one week he was kind of ragging on his guys, man. His guys was 6-0, and they lost the next game. He come in the press conference after that, and he's like, "Oh man, I knew it was happening. I knew it was a matter of time for it happened. I got a young team." And he taught me something at the same time. He said, that's why coaches like kids with more experience, because the young guys, by the time the 6-7 game come, they don't know how to balance food, sleep, studies. They're getting used to that kind of stuff. A guy that's did that for a year or two know exactly, like, I'm gonna knock this homework out now so I can party when I'm on the road, so forth and so on. So I see that edge right here in this San Diego State UCLA game with UCLA with the running game. But we also know San Diego State's a running school, and they pride themselves in offensive linemen and running backs, and they play pretty good defense against the pass and a lot of times against the run as well. So I think it's going to be a clear under, but the total slid down so far, I don't know if it's worth jumping on right now.
Yeah. I think there's some sentiment with some San Diego State. I'm reading in the chat here. I think Paco Healy says San Diego State money line. I think Teddy was one that was trying to get behind San Diego State, or somebody brought up the question about it. So I took note on it. I just wrote it down. So, I mean, just from the outside looking in, like they had what they do last year. They went 7-6. They went 4-4 in the Mountain West, and they beat in conference. They lost to Nevada. They lost to UNLV. They lost to out of conference. They lost to Hawaii, and they lost to Stanford. And they had some wins. They beat Arizona State. They beat Boise. So I mean, it's an up and down team. It looks like to me. Just I guess depends how the other,
And,
how they play. Like you say, keeping your head screwed on straight and whatnot. But I don't know. I'm going to look in this one a little bit more. I'm not sold one way or the other. So it's a game I probably won't get involved with. But I just took some notes down on it, and I just kind of wanted to get a breakdown. And have you break it, help me break it down. So I like that look though. I like the way you're kind of putting that together, because if you go back and look at what they've done in the past, it kind of falls in line with what you're saying. So I like that.
Also to note that one too is UCLA lost to Fresno State, the Mountain West team last year.
Okay,
UCLA,
so we got a little revenge.
Yeah, a little revenge on the Mountain West. So I don't think Kelly gonna let that slide this year.
Yeah,
and then also because he lost, I mean, this is one thing I believe into is kind of a little, I don't know what you call it, conspiracy theory type thing, but a coach got to go earn his pay at some point in time. And, you got to find your spots to earn your pay. There's a lot of coaches that hung around the league for years, losing big games, but keying in on those games that the alumni appreciates a win. Now, with the Mountain West being close by, a lot of these UCLA alumni, they may work with a couple of San Diego State, and they appreciate a win from UCLA right here against this Mountain West team. And if Chip's going to flex his muscle, he better flex it non-conference first before he brings it over to the Pac-12. So I think it's a good spot for him. I don't know about the hook on it, though, BigRagoo. You might have to buy that down. I can't take so much volatility with the hook on there, too.
So that's telling me you don't think realistically that UCLA is 2 scores better than you think they're going to win, but you're not sure about getting over the hump with that 7. So that's the key number. We know how that works, but because of the grinded out style that San Diego State's going to play against them possibly, and not give them as many opportunities to score, or you just think that UCLA isn't as capable of scoring on San Diego State?
Well, the jury's still out on San Diego State in its totality. But last week they had like a 7-0 victory or a 6-0 victory. They only won by 1 touchdown. Let me bring that up real quick. So if the running game over there is that bad, that's all they have is the run. Last year I used to kill San Diego State because every time they had to throw the ball more than like 15 yards, it was like a 3rd and 9 or something like that. The quarterback just couldn't get it over there. They could move the ball real quick, a little 5-yard dump, 7-yard dump. But if you had to go over 15 yards, it was a no-go. Now, last week right here, let's see here. San Diego State. They played Weber State, BigRagoo. They played Weber State, and they won 6-0.
Wow. 6-0.
6-0. And now they come in to play a Pac-12 team with a coach that's trying to justify why he got the money he got.
So how does anybody justify getting behind them with them kind of numbers? But who knows? I mean, Weber State, maybe that's crazy right there.
Yeah, that's why the hook is on there right there, though, BigRagoo.
Yeah, I got
that's you.
They want to shy them away. What about pros? You got anything? We got about another 10 minutes. What do you think you want to break down a pro game for?
I don't got nothing, no pros, but only other good lean I got is the Hawaii game, and my guy OG Wham in the chat, he backs it 100%. And me and Wham, a lot of times, sometimes we be sitting on the wrong side. But when we do connect, we like the Transformers. When we do connect, we make the Megatron and we make it happen. And he likes Hawaii just as much as I do. Teddy kind of bashed me on that one too, but you got to back this guy, Sam or McDonald. He was everything that he was supposed to be in the first game. Why wouldn't he be the same thing in the second game? And they keep saying Hawaii is this bad team. They can't play defense. It's a new season. We don't know exactly what they could do. They had a great game in game one, and you're going to knock them after that? Like, that was just luck. These guys consistently for years scored a lot of points at home, period.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he was really knocking. I think he was more like defending the fact that whether they'd be able to stop, because he was definitely like the overlook. But I think he just didn't want to back Hawaii because of the fact that, he didn't know if they would be the last one to score. He thought there was going to be a lot of scoring, and that was my reading how he, broke the game down. Dommy's got a question here. He wants to know if anybody's got a look on the second half of this game. Now, you know who called me tonight? Sergio called me. I told you he wanted to maybe, jump on tomorrow, but he said he was all over the under first half, 23 points in this game. It's a pretty good look right there. So, Dom, what do you think? Under again the second half, or you think they make some halftime adjustments? OG, what do you think? You like to put it in chat, OG, under or over 23 and a half?
I'll tell you what, one of my good childhood friends, and you guys will meet him one day. He lives local, but he's a pretty good capper. He's a selfish capper. He wins all by himself. He don't say nothing. He just pulls out winners. But one thing that he learned, he's a very attentive guy. He learned in the casino. In the casino, you meet a lot of OG BigRagoos and stuff that'll put you on the right side or something, And then you got some little ones you want to stay away from too. But these guys said that most of the time when there's a drastic under in the first half and you're looking at a total that's a decent 50 plus total, like a total that's kind of up there, and it underperformed the first half, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be an over in the second half. So
yeah,
just a little something I'd say, because it makes a lot of sense because halftime adjustments for one, and if they predicted the game to score X amount of points,
yeah, you do the math.
Sooner or later,
you figure it catches up. You figure it catches up. I know that happens a lot in basketball. When they look at basketball, probably Ski could tell you a little bit more about that. I had a good friend of mine who used to cap a lot of baskets, and he was always. I mean, he's like he like Dom and me. We got a pad. He's over there with the pad, and he's writing that as they're scoring. He's doing this, he's doing that. And they're going to score 22 more points in this, or just. I said, "How you know that?" He said, "I just know. I've been doing it this way forever." He says, "I'm never going to change. So whatever works, it works. It's still a game. They still got to put the ball, ball on the field, the ball on the court. You can change. You can take all the analytical stuff you want. They still have to play the game the way the game was supposed to be played, unless they change the rules and they tweaks the way the game is played, which happens a lot too, But in basketball, not so much. They play 48 minutes. They're going to score however many points they're going to score, and that's it.
I can't help but smile at the chat.
Who's Mini Ragu?
Let me put that one up on the screen for you, Big Ragu. Check out that comment right there.
Hey, where'd that come from?
Says, "Hey, Dad, what's going on?"
Oh,
shout out
to
Danielle Ragusta in the house.
That's my little girl. Hey, Danielle, what's going on? Oh, there she is. It's me. There she goes. Okay. She tracks me down no matter where at. It's either money or some kind of problem. When they're your kids, you got them for life. So you got to take care of your kids, man.
And we all like to say thank you for not being such a bad kid to leave us such a wonderful guy to cap these games with now. Because if you was a bad kid, he'd probably be distraught by now. But he's cool as a cucumber. So I know you probably was sweet as pie. So shout out to you for coming to visit your daddy here with all these rough cappers in here, degenerates and all that bad stuff.
She always used to say, "Who you got tonight, Dad? Who you need tonight, Dad?" So she knows the deal. She was brought up in the environment, so she knows what it's all about.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I haven't played those cards in years, and one of my buddies been had the cards for a while, so I checked them out. And I was telling my wife, I was like, man, I started doing these when I was like 8, 9 years old. I was hitting these little. My dad would just throw them to me. Pick a couple, teams, son, and I have my. I used to give him the whole thing, so I had to write my pick down. So I have my little piece of paper watching the game, and that's a part of my fanship and all that kind of stuff. Comes from Captain way back, man. I've always been a fan of it. I've always stayed consistent with doing it, and I love it, and I'm glad to enjoy this with all you guys.
Yes, sir. It's a I wouldn't call it a hobby, but it's a great passion to have. That's why when you go to Las Vegas or Atlantic City, but I mean, there's no place in the world like Las Vegas. As far as the way it's put together and the atmosphere and whatnot. But I mean, it's just such. I wouldn't even call it an adrenaline rush. It's more like a I don't know. It's just kind of like you're like in your little piece of heaven out there. You got the games going on, you got
Hmm.
food, you got entertainment. Just it's just so many good times. You just kind of forget of all your worries and everything. But now when we do our day to day stuff, it's more like a grind. But when you get out there,
Yeah,
it's more like you're not going to go crazy, but if that's a place, if you want to take a shot at something, you take a big swing over there. Like if you want to go bet that 18 parlay, you'll throw $20 down to try to catch a $2,000 parlay. You got to let
yeah,
loose a little bit. You got to have fun, drink a few
yeah.
cocktails, and just kind of like what we did in Miami. That was that was spectacular. We
Plastic
all
stuff.
we all got together. We all had our good times. We went to the football game, baseball game, went to the casino. We hung out by the pool late at night, down by
Oh
the
yeah,
beach. I mean, you
oh
can't you
yeah.
you can't write that kind of script. That's just living life to the fullest.
And I can't wait to somehow we can get it together to where we can play music on our shows. Because if y'all don't know, my man Big Ragoo got a cold playlist that he put out there. It will last for hours. Love that. Love that. Heard some songs. I heard a lot of songs on there that I feel like some people don't cherish these songs like I cherish these songs. And wow, Big Ragoo had them right there in the playlist, man. Good job on that one, Big
Yeah,
Ragoo.
I would figure we kick it old school a little bit.
Yeah, well,
Show,
you
show,
hooked it
show show
up.
my show my age a little bit. Not not as young as the younger guys, but like me and Dom, we're right there hanging out with one another. So we're right there, bumping shoulders on the age group, right, Dommy? But anyways,
Yeah,
it's all good, man. Nothing but love for everybody, and we're gonna do it again. So, what do you say? You want to wrap this thing up?
yeah. We're gonna have to go ahead and put a bow on it. And guess what, Big Ragoo?
Guess what? What's that, my man?
I'll see you at the window.
I'll see you at the window, and guess what? We'll see each other tomorrow night. Peace out.
Absolutely. So come on back to the Who-Bangin Lounge. A lot of guys from the chat, OG Wham, Noli Knows, Ski Profit. I mean, we got a lineup that's too long. Some of my folks going to have to take turns getting on here. And we're going to bring some special people you guys may have never met, like Bookie Lover Q and a couple other folks. And this guy, Sergio. You got to meet this guy, Sergio. He's definitely a low bagger. He got that aura about him, but he's always been listening and not always in the chat. But
Right,
he's gonna
right.
come on live exclusive with us on the Who-Bangin Sports Show. And sit back, you guys get a load of Sergio. We're gonna have to make him a better name than Sergio online, though. We need him. He got to get his name up.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Peace.
And